A man suddenly received a mysterious USB drive. Filled with confusion, he plugged the USB drive into his computer. What he saw inside instantly filled him with rage, because the woman in the video was none other than his wife, Catherine, and the man having sex with her was a complete stranger. Furious, the husband immediately called his wife, demanding to know who the man in the video was, but Catherine sounded completely confused on the other end of the line. She repeatedly denied everything, claiming she had absolutely no idea what had happened. The couple went straight to the police station to file a report. Catherine told the detectives that earlier that morning, someone had spray-painted the word whore on their garage wall. Shortly afterward, both of them received the disturbing video. In the footage, a stranger confidently entered their home. He then walked straight to the bedroom, and later had sex with Catherine. But strangely, Catherine insisted she had no memory of any of it. The police carefully reviewed the footage. They noticed the man entered the house with remarkable ease. There was no sign of forced entry, and no evidence of any break-in. It was as if he already knew the door would be unlocked. Even more puzzling, there was no sign of struggle or resistance. Catherine's behavior appeared unusually calm. The case quickly became a mystery. On the surface, it looked more like an affair being exposed than a sexual assault case. However, the experienced detectives sensed that something wasn't right. Based on the details in the footage, they suspected Catherine had been assaulted while unconscious, and the reason behind it might be linked to the sleeping pills she regularly took. Her husband Harry insisted that he was a very light sleeper. If anyone had entered the house during the night, he would have definitely noticed. The investigation seemed to hit a dead end, but soon a new lead emerged. Security footage from across the street identified the person who vandalized Catherine's home. The cameras also captured the vehicle's license plate. The vehicle belonged to a woman named Anna. When detectives questioned Anna, the truth slowly began to surface. She admitted she was responsible for the graffiti, and the secretly recorded videos had been obtained through a private investigator she hired. Because the man in the video was her husband, Tommy, Anna believed that Catherine had seduced her husband, so she decided to warn her in this extreme way. The police then questioned Tommy. Tommy appeared surprisingly calm. He insisted the relationship was completely consensual. Several months earlier, he had met Catherine in an online chat room. Both of them were bored with their ordinary lives. As their conversations grew more intimate, they developed a secret relationship. According to Tommy, every meeting had been arranged by Catherine herself. To prove he wasn't lying, Tommy voluntarily handed over their chat logs. Based on the messages, it did appear that Catherine had invited him. However, the chat room was anonymous, so investigators traced the IP address. What they discovered was shocking. The IP address did come from Catherine's home, but it wasn't sent from her personal computer. It came from the family's shared computer. Even more suspiciously, all the chats took place on Mondays and Wednesdays, and coincidentally, those were Harry's days off. This led detectives to a bold theory. Perhaps the person sending the invitations was never Catherine at all, but her trusted husband. To test their theory, the detectives returned to Catherine. They collected the sleeping pills she regularly used for testing. They also showed her the chat logs, but Catherine continued to deny everything. She insisted she had never written those messages, and would never invite a stranger into her home. Based on the evidence gathered so far, the detectives proposed two possibilities. One was that Catherine was suffering from some form of mental disorder. The other was that someone had been impersonating her online, and that person was most likely her husband, Harry. Hearing this, Catherine simply could not accept it. She refused to believe that the man she had shared her life with for years could be capable of something so horrifying. Overwhelmed with emotion, she demanded that the detectives leave her home immediately. She also stated that any future conversations would have to go through her attorney. After leaving Catherine's house, the detectives came up with another bold theory. If Harry really was behind all of this, then Tommy was probably not the first man to enter that house. The detectives began tracking down every man who had communicated with Catherine's account. After investigating them one by one, most had never moved beyond online conversations. A few had planned to meet her, but canceled for various reasons. Although no additional victims were found, the detectives were convinced that this disturbing behavior was not a sudden impulse. Harry had likely been doing this for a long time. Since Harry was a university professor, they decided to speak with some of his students. During questioning, one student quickly revealed a secret he had kept for years. Harry had once suggested that he take part in a similar arrangement. He had also tried to influence him with disturbing and twisted ideas. The detectives later played the recording for Catherine.
How many times did you have sex with Mrs. Vernon?
Just the once.
After hearing what was said, she was left speechless. Deep down, ever since she saw the chat logs, she had sensed that something was wrong. She simply wasn't ready to face the truth. The case soon moved to trial. A pharmaceutical expert took the stand. The test results revealed that Catherine's sleeping pills had indeed been tampered with. The dosage inside the bottle was twice the normal amount. Such a dose could easily leave a person unconscious and incapable of making decisions. The problem was, there was no direct evidence proving that Harry was the one who altered the medication. The student later testified in court. He admitted that he had noticed Catherine behaving strangely. After realizing something was wrong, he began distancing himself from Harry. The defense attorney quickly struck back. He argued that the student had a conflict of interest. Therefore, his testimony could not be trusted. For a moment, the case seemed to stall once again. Just as the prosecution was running out of options, Tommy's wife Anna stepped forward. she provided a crucial piece of information. Before the trial began, Harry had secretly met with Tommy. He even gave Tommy a large sum of money. The goal was to make sure their stories matched. As long as they both insisted the relationship was consensual, they could avoid serious consequences. The prosecutor immediately visited Tommy in jail. A plea deal was offered. In the end, under enormous pressure, Tommy agreed to testify. He described in detail how Harry exploited his own wife, how he fabricated the online messages, and how he orchestrated everything that followed. As his testimony came to an end, the entire truth finally came together. The jury had no remaining doubts. Ultimately, Harry was sentenced to 15 years in prison. At last, the case was closed. But for Catherine, the nightmare was far from over. She lost far more than her marriage. She lost her trust in the person closest to her. The pain and betrayal she endured would likely leave scars that could never fully heal. Sometimes the most devastating wounds do not come from strangers. They come from the person you trust without reservation. Harry used marriage and trust to satisfy his twisted desires, and in doing so destroyed what had once been a happy family. Catherine's suffering serves as a reminder to all of us. Trust is the most valuable foundation of any relationship. Once it is betrayed and exploited, even when the truth finally comes out, the scars may never truly heal.